The following is intended for mature audiences. Hey Diva! This episode is sponsored by Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Help out this horror show by showing some love and rating 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Leave me a little love note on there as well, because all positive reviews help push this into more people's feeds. Now, before diving headfirst into the chaos of the episode, as usual, listen to this short story / question I was sent. What would you recommend for a first horror film to show a date for future reference? I brought a date back to my place to watch a movie, and not gonna lie, I was hoping to do stuff, but they were so turned off by what we were watching that after, they just wanted to go home. Things didn't end up working out after either because I said they were being dramatic. I'm not joking. By the way, the film was Midsommar. So the question here is, what horror movie would I recommend on a first date? Not that one. Welcome to a world where darkness and mystery converge. Navigate the depths of horror and true crime and join a society beyond the ordinary, where buzzworthy topics, paranormal tales, and listener-submitted experiences blend into a realm of the unknown. You have crossed into a place where the unusual and the terrifying are just the beginning. My name is Ralph Anthony, and welcome to the Scream Society podcast. Hello, Screamers. Welcome into another edition of the Scream Society podcast, what I love to call a variety show from hell. In the dawn of another horrifying virus outbreak and Melissa Barrera still coming for the cast of Scream 7, I hope you all are staying safe out there because, honestly, as the year progresses, it's like I get more and more closer to canceling my summer vacations. Like, there's no hot ghoul summer for anyone this year. Can I just be real here for a second? Since I'm on the topic of cancellation, I have also been getting closer and closer to canceling the podcast. Yes, you heard that correctly. Walking away, tapping out, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's been really hard to keep going and want to put content out, not for anything to do with how much work goes into it, but just for the sole purpose of how much longer until I can get to the next level without sacrificing who I am or what this podcast is. You know, like, I don't want to have to resort to doing what everyone else is doing. Like, we're all human. We all have different emotions. We all come from different backgrounds. But lately, just everything from being bullied as a child to things people have told me, to doubt myself, to being called this and being compared to that. Like, something has just made me tap back into that and not feel good enough, if you will. It's just made me really insecure as a creator, and there have been some people who've made really dumb comments or haven't been as supportive as I thought they would have been. And yeah, I mean, that comes with the territory, right? The lurkers, the people who want you to fail. And I was almost telling myself every time I would want to start work on another episode, like, at the end of the day, why do I keep dedicating hours of my precious time to something that hasn't taken off as much as I'd like? It's been 3 going on 4 years now. Like, was it the rebrand? Was it this? Was it that? Like, just all these questions keep going through my mind. Like, what can I do to change it? What can I do to just capture? Like, I was never seeking fame and fortune from a podcast, but at the very least, I think I was hoping for some form of opportunities and all of that. And when it just feels like there are so many factors out there against you, I'm kind of over it. Like, I want my life before content creation back, honestly. Like, when algorithms and shadow banning and views, it didn't matter and I didn't care. But I'm also really stubborn and I'm also really driven. So that's why I'm here now with you all for this episode still, because as much as I've advocated for other creators with my support small creators posts and support real artists and all this shit, I gotta show it for myself, because at the end of the day, I do love doing this. I really fucking do. And I have to tell myself that I love creating for me, for connections with cool ass people, and because I know putting out quality content is what I do. It's what I'm good at. The Scream Society is a very unique format, and I don't see a lot of podcasts out there like this. So when I was going to quit, I told myself, if you quit, bitch, you're giving those people who hate you the satisfaction of shutting you up. And do you really want to do that? But long rant, I don't know what I'm going off on over here. What triggered that? But I felt I had to get that out. I don't know. I'll probably cut this out. Now look, let's get back on track here. I have a lot to touch on this episode, so let's get into sinister subjects. So Melissa Barrera has spoken up once again about Scream. Yup. And like I said, I was done talking about this, but not all of us are apparently. So full transparency, I was irritated at first, and this segment was going to be a lot bitchier. I wasn't even going to tackle this one until some of my netizens started asking for my thoughts on it, and I was surprised that we're still going back and talking about this when Scream 7 is out. It's been out. It's available to own on home media at this point. And not to say what Spyglass did to her is in any way okay. I really do need to clarify that, because I know there is a lot of people out there who will twist what people say and make it sound like something it's not. Okay, I stand with her on that aspect. I don't agree with what Spyglass did. Okay, but I was truly disappointed because I was reading just the headlines and posts mutuals were sharing and not really looking at the full story. And you have to remember, this is someone who was let go for standing up for something, right? So I just wanted to break down what was actually said, because while I completely agree with her on the main issue, there was one part at the very end that really rubbed me the wrong way and made me feel like, okay, enough. So in this interview with Variety, Melissa Barrera covers everything from her latest gig in Broadway to other films she's worked on, including Scream 5 and 6. The interview really highlights how horribly the media misrepresented her original posts, because nearly every article claimed she posted an anti-Semitic story about the Israeli government distorting the Holocaust, when in reality, she actually shared a piece written by an Israeli Holocaust scholar, Ra Segal. The quote everyone freaked out over was actually him just listing off his previous works, specifically referencing an old article about how the Israeli government let Bulgaria whitewash their World War II history for an arms deal. It wasn't even about the current conflict. So despite being factually right, she was completely blacklisted, and she pointed out a really sad truth about Hollywood. The backlash has been incredibly gendered, right? With mostly women, like her and Susan Sarandon. Melissa also called herself the perfect scapegoat because, as a woman of color who was on the rise, she was famous enough to generate clickbait, but not untouchable enough for the industry to actually protect her. Now, one of the wildest parts of the interview was finding out that all that solidarity the internet talked about was mostly smoke and mirrors, because when she was asked about Jenna Ortega, who was her co-star, she played her sister in Scream 5 and 6, because when she was asked about Jenna Ortega dropping out of Scream as a show of support, she literally shook her head and said that that wasn't the reality of things. So I'm curious, why would she drop out then? Like, why would Jenna Ortega quit? And she's even come out recently and addressed it. And Jenna Ortega, queen of playing the same character in most of her work, has been busy shacking up with alleged boyfriend Elias Ronenfeld, who is a lead singer of a Danish punk band called Ice Age, and who has also been said to spew extreme right-wing neo-Nazi sympathies and engage in violent behavior during live performances, allegedly. So back to this Melissa thing. Melissa also mentions that she got plenty of private DMs supporting her, but zero public action. She was out of work for 10 torturous months until director Boots Riley finally reached out and offered her a role. She credits him entirely with shifting the energy and getting her career moving again, and that's amazing. It's like the Kathy Griffin Trump head photo, which is a great photo, wink wink. She was blacklisted and didn't work for about 8 years because nobody wanted to associate with her. If you're gay and you don't know who Kathy Griffin is, we need to talk. Now, back to this Melissa interview. Here's where she lost me a little bit. Towards the end of the interview, the topic shifted to the original Scream cast members who came back to film Scream 7 after she was fired and the director quit. And in my opinion, the interviewer totally baited her here. They specifically asked if the returning cast acting in the movie seemed scabby or like they were crossing a picket line. And to me, she took the bait and said, oh, 100%. I think they all are, and they have to live with that. Now, look, I think the interviewer completely led her into that answer, but at the end of the day, what's said is said. Coming for your former coworkers just for working is in pretty poor taste, if you ask me, some of which are queer people and of color, just saying. And again, I fully support her standing her ground on human rights, but I think dragging other actors for just doing their jobs and making a living, it doesn't really sit right with me. You can be a victim of a terrible, unjust studio decision without having to label working actors as scabs just for cashing a paycheck and keeping a franchise alive. And this isn't a debate on who should or shouldn't watch it. See my Scream 7 review episode for that conversation. It's just a complicated situation altogether. Like, she was incredibly wronged by the studio and the media, but I think taking aim at the cast paying their bills was definitely a misstep, in my opinion. Now, where she really went for the jugular here was when she flat out said that Scream 7 sucked and claimed the studio lied about the box office numbers. I don't know how the studio could fake the box office numbers. I've never heard of that. And Variety did step in to fact check her, saying the movie grossed $207 million, but she's convinced they nostalgia baited the audience and then flubbed the math to save face, which they kind of did nostalgia bait. I mean, we gotta give her that. They brought Nev back, they brought Matthew Lillard. What do you all think? Are we fatigued? Ultimately, I have so much respect for someone who stands by their principles when an industry tries to silence them. Like, that takes real fucking guts here. Especially because there are a lot of fake people who actually dodge things to avoid conflict. They dodge serious topics. They don't want to talk about it. But I really hope we can move past the scab talk. It just felt like unnecessary friendly fire. Mason and Jasmine have publicly spoke out about her in the red carpets and all of these interviews. Nev has spoke on it. I think staying stuck in the who should have quit drama just keeps negativity on loop and keeps the fans at war. Let's take a break. A 911 call and terrifying but true case coming your way. From the blood-soaked depths of late-night horror comes a collection so shocking, so scandalous, it'll make your wardrobe scream. Want my face on your chest? Or maybe you just want to rep the cult, the logo, the legend, the Scream Society? Don't just listen to the nightmare, wear it, rep it, live it. Get it now before it gets you. Head to scream-society.printify.me and rep Scream Society merch. Welcome back, friends. If you're an avid listener of the Scream Society, you are aware of my strong opinion on how 911 dispatchers handle situations, because these are individuals who are required to go through what I'm assuming is thorough and effective training to set them up for the most intense situations, right? And what I have for us today is an example of one of the better ones. And given the circumstances of the call, let's take a listen.
Santa Clara 911, what's the address of the emergency? Exactly what happened?
I don't know. There's a lady laying out here on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And she's bleeding.
Okay. Are you with the lady now?
Yes, she's right here.
Okay, hold on 1 second here. Let me write what you're saying, okay? Advertise it.
Okay, stay with me. Stay with me.
Okay. And so how old is the lady?
I don't know. She's my neighbor. She just moved in like 2 days ago. She looks like she's probably in her early 30s.
Okay. And is
Can you guys help?
she awake?
Yes, she's awake.
Is she breathing? Is she breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing, but
Okay.
it looks like she's going in and out of.
All right, hold on now.
Stay with me, babe. Stay with me. Are you okay? Come on. Stay with me. What happened?
What'd she say happened?
I don't know.
Okay, is she completely alert?
No, kind of.
No? Oh,
Looking at me.
she's looking at
Yes,
you?
it's
Okay.
Is
All right.
the ambulance coming?
Yeah, we're going to get the ambulance started right now. Hold on for me. Do not hang up, okay?
I won't hang
So
up.
we're coming right in front of you,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay.
I'm hanging.
Don't hang up. We're going to help her, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem. Together we're going to do this. Okay, and I'm going to help you do that. Where's she bleeding from?
I don't know. It's on her arms,
Okay.
under her arm. I don't know exactly where it's coming from.
Okay. Paramedics are on the way, okay? So,
Okay.
hold on one second here.
Hang in there, babe. Hang in there. I don't know. I just they're coming. It's 911. Can you check if her baby's in there? She's got a 4.5-year-old. She lives right here.
Okay, so hold on
Right
one second.
here. Yeah. She just moved in.
Okay, thanks.
Is your baby home?
Okay, so, what we're going to do is I want you...
She said her husband shot everybody.
Her husband shot everybody?
She said.
Okay.
She's right here. This is my daughter at the doctor's.
Her husband shot everybody. That's what the lady's saying.
Hurry up.
Okay, I'll go out with her. Hold on.
Okay, honey. Are you okay? You here? She's still here. Come on, it's okay. They're coming, okay? They're coming. Is the baby okay? Where did your husband go? You don't know? Did he leave? Or did he shoot himself? Hello, come on. Stay with me. Where's your husband? Where's your husband? You know?
Okay, hold on for a second. So give me the address of where the woman lives, okay?
4350 Heaton Way.
Okay, 4350. Hold on one second, okay? You're doing a great job. Hold on one second, okay?
This lady's still here. Come on, are you still here? Come on, hang in there. Hang in there. They're coming. They're coming, okay?
Okay, all right.
They're coming.
Yeah, that's the exact house.
Yeah.
So this is the case of Devin Kellithet, and the setup is quite typical because on paper, this guy was a successful Yahoo engineer living in this really nice upscale community in Santa Clara called Rivermark. He lived there with his wife, Apu, and their 2 kids. And at the time, they were even hosting his brother-in-law's family who had just come over from India to start a new life. Well, things took a nightmarish turn on a Sunday night in March of 2009 during what was supposed to be a housewarming party. Everyone was together in the kitchen and dining area. Police even found the dinner still on the table later that day. There's always something so chilling seeing how things were left in the aftermath of tragic events like this, like seeing what the family was doing before everything went down. So, like I mentioned, everyone was in the dining area when, out of nowhere, Devin Kellithet went upstairs, grabbed 2 semi-automatic handguns he'd bought just weeks earlier, and came back down with this totally emotionless, robotic face. And he just started shooting. He killed his 11-year-old son, his 4-year-old daughter, his brother-in-law, his sister-in-law, and even their 11-month-old baby girl. Then went to the 3rd floor of the home and shot himself in the head. If you were curious about the aftermath of the 911 call, his wife, Apa, was the only survivor here. Despite being critically injured, she managed to get outside to the sidewalk where a neighbor, Cheryl Abbott, found her and stayed with her until help arrived. Her survival and recovery were described by many as miraculous given the circumstances. She had been shot 6 times. Most of her injuries were in her upper body, including her chest, side, and abdomen. The 5 victims who died inside, Kellithet's 11-year-old son, 4-year-old daughter, and his in-laws were all shot multiple times at close range. More tragic, the 11-month-old little Ahana was the only other person found alive by paramedics. She had been shot, and though they rushed her to the hospital, her tiny body couldn't handle the trauma. She passed away early the next morning. Now, in the aftermath, investigators looked for a motive. Like, what prompted this? What led up to this? But the why remained incredibly elusive. There were no obvious signs of financial trouble or workplace issues. Some reports suggested there might have been a disagreement between Kellithet and his brother-in-law during the dinner, but it was hard for anyone to wrap their heads around how a dispute could lead to such an extreme outcome. Though if you ask me, such extreme and tragic outcomes aren't entirely unlikely in a disagreement. Anybody can snap at any given moment. One detail that came out during the investigation was that an autopsy revealed a small benign brain tumor at the base of Devin's skull. While medical experts generally stated such a tumor wouldn't typically cause a sudden psychotic break, it left people wondering if there were underlying health factors that nobody knew about. Now, because Devin took his own life, there was never a trial. The focus shifted to Apa's recovery and the shock felt by the local community and his colleagues at Yahoo. Apa underwent several surgeries and a long period of rehabilitation before she was eventually able to return to her life, or what was left of it. She later had an emotional meeting with Cheryl Abbott, who had helped her that night, to express her gratitude. And going back to the call, just the dispatcher's tone, and even when she said, "We're gonna do this," I literally got chills listening to that. And while this case is one of the more tragic ones, I truly think it's important to celebrate what we can, to celebrate the positive aspects that there are, and recognize them. Let's move on. Welcome into Terrifying But True, the segment where I choose one random true crime, dark history, or paranormal case and do a deep dive on it. This episode, I'm changing things up a little bit. We're digging into the archives of one of the most legendary radio shows, because every once in a while, I like digging into something a little different. Now, one of my favorite things growing up was listening to Coast to Coast AM with host Art Bell. If you somehow never heard of it, Coast to Coast was basically this iconic overnight radio show where Art Bell would have conversations about UFOs, ghosts, government conspiracies, time travelers, secret societies, near-death experiences, literally anything strange or unsettling. Sound familiar? Because I list Art as one of my inspirations for this podcast. And the reason people loved Art so much was because he had this calm, almost hypnotic voice where no matter how insane the caller sounded, he treated them seriously enough that you'd start questioning things too. Like, you could tune in at 2 a.m. expecting entertaining topics and suddenly end up staring at your ceiling wondering if aliens were actually outside. But out of all the bizarre callers and creepy interviews that ever happened on the show, like, what are some notable ones? There was the Son of the Devil one, the Area 51 caller, which gets shared a lot. But honestly, there's one that people still talk about almost 30 years later. And honestly, it's probably one of the darkest calls Art Bell ever took. So let's get into it. When the unthinkable becomes reality, we find ourselves questioning everything, as some stories are too terrifying but true. So picture this. October 23rd, 1997, Art gets a caller from Salt Lake City who calls herself Harlot. Right away, the entire vibe changes. She doesn't sound nervous, theatrical, or even excited to be on air. She's weirdly calm, cold, and instead of being one of those love and light spiritual people, she immediately starts talking about being a fourth generation cunning earth witch and a servant of Satan. And one of the first things she goes off about is how much she hated Wiccans. She basically thought modern Wiccans were fake, occultists just playing dress up with crystals and candles, all while pretending magic was harmless and peaceful. Because in her mind, real witchcraft was dark, dangerous, and completely devoted to evil. She wasn't talking about balance or nature or spirituality. Nothing like that. She fully believed the source of power came from the occult and total submission to Satan. She even said people who tried practicing magic without accepting that were basically cowards. What made the whole thing even creepier was how seriously she seemed to believe all of this, because she actually believed the Bible was real. She believed God existed, heaven existed, Lucifer existed. She just thought God was the villain. She said Lucifer was unfairly cast out of heaven, and that he was the one who gave humanity knowledge. So in her twisted worldview, she sided with the underdog. She even talked about wanting to someday put God on trial for crimes against humanity, which honestly sounded like somebody took a Sunday school lesson and flipped it into something completely upside down. And then the call takes a genuinely disturbing turn. She starts talking about her infant son who had passed away. And instead of describing it like some heartbreaking tragedy, she talks about it with this almost emotionless pride. According to her, she performed a ritual to bind her son's soul to hers because she wanted them to spend eternity together in hell. She claims she had been indoctrinating him into satanic service even as an infant, and that was a moment where even Art Bell, who had heard literally everything imaginable on that show, started sounding uncomfortable. And that's what makes this call so memorable. It wasn't just edgy or shocking for the sake of it. The way she described things genuinely felt deeply wrong. She talked about eternal damnation like it was a life goal. She openly accepted the idea of burning forever as long as she got to live her life on her own terms first. And the scarier part was just how casual she sounded while saying all of this. Then she starts talking about targeting people with dark magic. She claimed she would intentionally choose victims, not just to hurt them physically, but to corrupt them spiritually and guide them toward the dark side. Basically acting like some kind of recruiter for Satan. Throughout the call, she kept bringing up the apocalypse and the final days, saying she'd gladly participate in violence against believers when the time came. Now, another weird detail was how she described herself as a fourth generation cunning witch, like this was some family tradition passed down for generations. She refused to reveal her family name because she wanted to protect them, but at the exact same time, she was weirdly open about herself, to the point where Art actually had to stop her from giving out her home address on air because he was worried listeners might genuinely show up at her doorstep. And naturally, over the years, people started questioning whether any of it was real. Some listeners think she was actually a devout Christian or maybe even a Mormon missionary doing some kind of reverse psychology scare tactic or something. Because that idea is that if you convince people Satan is terrifying and evil is real, then maybe you push them toward religion. Others think she was just an actress, an attention seeker, or somebody who understood the assignment on how to create the most disturbing possible late night radio character ever. Because honestly, parts of it almost sound too perfectly crafted to unsettle people, right? But what keeps the mystery alive is the fact she never really came back. Art Bell used to have guests come back to catch up with them or have them on reoccurring segments. But apparently Art felt there wasn't much more to gain for having her on again, especially because Christian listeners were already disturbed enough by the segment. I mean, this woman even said that she'd call back someday, but she never did. And that left the entire thing frozen in time as one of Coast to Coast's biggest unresolved mysteries. Was she mentally unstable? Was it performance art before people even used that term? Was it some elaborate religious scare campaign or scare tactic? Or was it just a lonely person who found a way to become immortal through one terrifying radio appearance? And I'm going to play an edited down version that I cut down for runtime purposes, obviously. But I'll leave the judgment up to you all. Whether or not she was legit, this call is still terrifying but true.
Well, you guys know me. I will put anything on the air. And that includes Malachi Martin, Catholic priests, people of the cloth, people of the church, and people not of the church, and many things in between. So here is Harlot. Harlot, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Art.
How did you get your name Harlot?
I got my name Harlot because of how I live and what I do. I go around and I spread webs of deceit, and I adore myself in a very alluring fashion when I do these things. And I take great pleasure in finding a victim, laying my evil eyes upon him, and bringing him into sinful joy. And if you go back into your scriptures and search them out, and especially in the Old Testament, a woman of my type would be called a harlot. And I take that strictly out of reference from biblical terms.
Okay. This fact, of course, shocked me and shocked a lot of people. A lot of people who have contacted me, Harlot, tell me you couldn't possibly be a witch.
I'm not surprised. I knew that would be one of the first reactions when I sent the fax. What should I say, when my fiancé sent the fax? You know, for many years, it has been publicized in different newsletters and through television and through the media itself about what a witch is. If you search these things out, you will find out that even in the most medieval times, that witches were of a more of an evil nature. We took great pleasure in setting great traps and being diverse, a very diverse heart, placing ourselves in a position to be looked upon as Satan followers. But what we do practice the art of witchcraft. What I am, Art, is a satanic fourth generation earth witch. I am practicing an art and a faith that has been passed down through my family for generations. And all I can say to them is, if they don't think I'm a witch, well, that's their prerogative, and, so be it.
Well, those who practice what's called Wicca are the first to step forward and say, based on what you wrote here, you're certainly not a witch. And what do you say about the Wiccans?
Well, I'm not surprised. I have encountered many of them here where I live. I have encountered them over the span of my years. Even when I was a young child, I have pretty much been from coast to coast. I haven't made it from border to border yet. I'm one border minus, but I'm going to get there soon. And I've encountered them everywhere. And the thing that I find interesting about it is that once the topics are come up and once it becomes an open discussion, I'm always left standing alone. And I always get these little word-of-mouth things coming back from them, passed to this person, and so on and so on. But it seems to me I can't find one that's a witch.
Okay, I just hit the button because you used your first name.
I don't care anymore.
Oh, you don't care?
I don't care anymore.
You don't care?
I don't care. You can use my first name.
Really? All right.
Let's go with it.
I bleeped it, so let's unbleep it. Your name is Patsy.
Exactly.
Ooh, boy, you're really sticking your neck out here.
There's Wiccans listening to the station right now, no more than about 8 blocks from where I live, and I'm tired of it, and they know who it is now. And they have an opportunity, and I welcome the opportunity. I am not going to bicker. I will not get into a rambling discussion about irrelevant things. I want to discuss relevancy here.
All right, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Do you want to say what city you're in?
Yes, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. I am exactly 2 blocks from the Mormon LDS Temple.
Oh, my gosh. What, pray tell, are you doing there? In Salt Lake, that is.
Well, I came here, first of all, Art. I came here right about the latter part of 1989. I came here with a purpose, and that purpose was to deceive and to lead astray as many as I could. And I have for years, even through my childhood, reacted very strongly between issues considering God, heaven, Satan, hell. I am a full-fledged, totally devoted individual, a woman who serves Satan in her heart, and I take absolutely no regard for people's lives when it comes to me handing them pretty much on a silver platter straight to Satan and take them straight to hell.
Good Lord. There is a God, Harlot?
Art, I believe in the existence of an almighty God. Now, there is a difference between belief and acceptance. I do not accept God, the Almighty, as my God, or a God I worship, or whom I have chosen to lead my life.
So you believe, in other words, you believe in the existence of God, you simply don't accept him. The one you worship is the devil.
Right. I believe in the existence of God, but I deny him in my life, and I deny him to have any part of my life.
I have never met or talked with anybody who said what you just said. You're the first one, Harlot.
I firmly hold to that I believe that God is responsible and the blame. And if I, as a human being who opposes him and upholds the other side, if I myself could put God on trial, I would find him, if I could, as jury and executioner, guilty on crimes and be punished for crimes against this planet and the human race. I will find him guilty and condemn him to eternal death. How much I despise him.
Your son was taken from you by your ex, if I understand what I've heard tonight correctly.
Yes.
Your son, at 5 years of age, surely did not deserve what he got.
No, he did nothing. All my son did was come down with the flu, and it's a long story, Arabelle. He took him from me at a very early age.
I understand that. So your son, without a doubt, has gone to God.
In my mind, he has gone to hell. Right?
How can you say that? Why? Based on what?
Based on the simple fact that when he was born, I performed a certain ritual over him. That basically, I told Satan, and in this case we don't ask, we tell, to beg an audience with God, that this child be that of a devil of himself. That he could use this child in a most unholy way, and to raise this child into this faith, of course with my help, of course. And,
Let's get into Ralph versus the Rot, where I react to your stories, experiences, situationships, and answer your questions while doing my best to give you perspective and or a little advice. To submit, simply email screamsocietypodcast@gmail.com. My inbox is always open over on Instagram @screamsocietypodcast, or click the anonymous submissions link in all my bios. Remember, mostly everything remains anonymous. All right, Screamers. Circling back to the very beginning of the episode, the cold opener, I was sent a question/story of a date that went wrong because they watched Missionary. I mean Midsommar. Sorry, I have my notes in front of me, and I think autocorrect might have changed Midsommar to Missionary, and I didn't even notice. But I'm sure the sender of this wished that they had ended up in Missionary during this date. So they watched Midsommar. The sender was hoping they would have sex, and the date was turned off by the movie. So the sender told them that they were overreacting and things just didn't work out, thus accusing the movie of being the reason that things didn't work out. And I just realized I have no idea the gender identities of this story. But anyway, okay, I have two things. One, things didn't work out maybe because of you calling them dramatic. Like, I could understand if this was a buddy, a best friend, but a date, some people just like they can't handle all that shock factor, baby girl. And then you were trying to have sex. Like, that's not how you go about that, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure people have done it before, but I mean, like, if you want a higher percentage of being successful, I don't think this is the way. And two, you chose Midsommar, and that is not a date movie. Hell, I don't even think that's a comfort movie. Actually, maybe for some. Maybe it's yours. I don't know. Now, as for a first horror movie for a date, there are so many. Horror comedies and basic slashers are probably your best bet. I mean, I think everyone knows that. Some films I would recommend, Ready or Not, Happy Death Day, even The Babysitter, which is on Netflix, the first one. What else? The Cabin in the Woods. Any of the big four, which to me are Freddy, Jason, Michael, or Chucky. I don't want to take them all though, because I did ask some of my screamers over on Instagram and I got some pretty good ones. So, are you writing this down? Heart Eyes, excellent slasher. Scream, of course. Any of those are great. Someone said Megan. Okay. Get Out. That's a good one. Zombieland. I always forget about Zombieland, honestly. So good. Someone said Jennifer's Body. Iconic. The Exorcist. I mean, I guess. Some more here are Scream 6. Teeth. Oh my god, I have not seen Teeth in years. If you know, you know. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Oh my god, yes. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Is that the one with Pete Davidson? Actually, yes, it is. I've never actually seen that one. But the list goes on. And shout out to all of y'all who participated. Like, you get the point. Midsommar is so psychologically, visually, and just emotionally disturbing. Like, it's a film that drains its audience. So definitely do not recommend that as a first date movie. And I mean this part, okay? Lean forward and listen in. Treat your dates better. Anything big planned for the podcast during Pride? Pride. Okay. Pride D month. I know I was supposed to do some collaborations with other creators. But yeah, I think that's going to be my big focus for Pride, is to really hone in and connect with LGBTQ plus creators, LGBTQ plus podcasts. But yeah, that's going to be my main goal. And maybe I'll even do some LGBTQ true crime stories, LGBTQ questions, LGBTQ submissions, because I am sitting on a lot of submissions that I have to sort through. Thank you, by the way. But yeah, I'm only going to focus more on LGBTQ content. All right, guys, a big thank you to those of you who submitted to the podcast. Make sure to get those questions in. Always remember to keep it respectful and honest. Check out the links in bio on the podcast socials and support a homosexual in need by buying some merch. And until next time, I'll scare you all on the next episode. No hot ghoul summer for anyone this year. Thank you for tuning into the Scream Society podcast, hosted, written, produced, and edited by yours truly, Ralph Anthony. Help the society grow by subscribing on your favorite platform and leave a rating and review. I always strive for 5s. Have a horror or paranormal experience? Want me to answer your questions on the show? Submit to beacons.ai/The Scream Society. Connect with the podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Scream Society Podcast. And until next time, I'll scare you on the next episode.